So I just felt like changing the chair, changing the vibe a bit, changing the scenery a bit, changing the energy. I think this is the RemReaper chair. It's a bit bigger, more grandiose, kind of like my personality. So now, may we commence? I think we should go do this. So here we have it, guys. Here we have it, guys. Once again, back with another episode, another podcast. We'll see when we stop. We'll see how far we take this shit. Maybe we'll never stop. But today we're talking on that feminine and masculine energy. And I understand that this has been a whole niche of its own on the internet within recent times, whole conversation. We have the influencers that talk about it all the time. And now I want to add my own 2 cents of what I think this whole thing of we have more masculine women, more feminine men, and why we're becoming more depolarized, why we're becoming weaker as a nation, why we're becoming weaker as a whole human race, And I think that, quite frankly, there is a lot of truth to this whole notion. So let's understand that the difference between a man and a woman is clear as day. Biologically, we're different. You have a man, he has a penis, he carries the life source, which quite frankly is the entire existence of humans, which is what we know as the semen. And then that gets put into the female, she carries that for 9 months, and then she births a child, and then hence the expansion of the human race. It's exactly how we're all here right now, right? So anyway, what's my point with this? My point is, yeah, we understand we're different, but to what extent do we understand we're different? Because nowadays, I think we're even getting blinded. We're getting confused to our differences. With all these movements, feminist movements of women need more rights, all these things of men becoming weaker, men becoming lazier, men becoming less ambitious. It's quite evident that we're changing. We're literally changing. So, if we're changing, you have a man who just wakes up and quite frankly doesn't want to be the traditional idea of a man. What does that mean for the rest of the society he is placed in? So let's understand that throughout the course of history, you cannot dispute this. Men are quite frankly the building aspects of what a world is, of what society is. Men are the ones who go out there, they risk their lives in war. Men are the ones who are recruited in war. Men are the ones who lose their lives. Men are the ones who fight for their nation. So, okay, we get that. And obviously we don't expect women and children that are left back at home where they're more or less safer than the man who's out there risking his life every day, coming back with PTSD from years of warfare, because it's a man's duty to protect and provide. By nature, we know it's a man's duty to protect and provide. So why is this becoming more distorted? Why is it becoming more vague? And I would say it's becoming more vague because it's intentional. They don't want us to be aware of our own power as men. They don't want women to be aware of their own power as women. Hence, the depolarization of masculine and feminine energy. See, let's speak from the context. Let's say hypothetically, within this system, there's someone who wants to control everyone in the world. Keep them in a place whereby when I tell you, you can't get out of your house for 2 years, you won't get out, or you have to wear a mask everywhere you go, you're gonna do it. I want to control people to that extent. Let's say that's me. I understand that if I can get men to be obedient enough, men being these characters of provision, these characters of building, protection, I understand that me influencing the men in a society will inevitably influence the women, because now who do the women have to look for? Who do the women have to look to for guidance, for understanding of their role in the world? No one. At that point, it is no one. So now that I've done that, we now also have the women who are not being as feminine, and the feminine nature being that of caring, nurturing, softer, more empathetic and patient, more especially with children. We don't have that nature as evident as we did before. So now what does that mean for the youth? Because the youth are born into this whole system that functions in this manner. And then what does that mean for them? Because that's all they see, that's all they know, and that's actually, they come to a point where that's all they believe. And granted, yes, I'm not saying women don't have rights or don't deserve rights. I actually advocate for women to have rights, but what is a woman's place in society and what are her rights within her place in society? Just as a man has his place in society and what are his roles and his rights in society. I don't expect a woman to fight for me. I don't expect a woman to even make sure I'm successful. And that's exactly what men innately understand, but is that what is practiced still? That is the devastating question I have for all of you now. Because now, okay, if a man understands that, okay, the only way I actually get the best of life is by going through the hardship of being a man. The hardship being that this girl that I really like won't notice me unless probably I become someone socially, not even probably, definitely, unless I become someone socially, I become someone physically, I become someone mentally. If my opinion matters in a room, then she'll inevitably listen to me, because it's not saying that women are naive, but rather it's saying that women being in such a place whereby men have their agendas in being men, and women have an understanding of this innately by nature. Like, men understand that in life they have to do everything and anything for their nature, for their status. And okay, granted that a woman understands that a man is willing to do everything and anything within his nature to up his game. He can do it immorally or morally. Hence, men are seen as more dangerous in comparison to women. Because, I mean, men are more likely to fight. Men are more likely to kill for what they want. Men are more likely to hurt people to get to where they want. And it's not to say that all men are bad or being in your masculine element is bad, but it's just an understanding of men understand that they need to make sacrifices to up their own game, and sometimes that comes at the expense of other people, other things in their lives, or other people's lives. So a woman would feel safe with a guy who everyone around her seems to be safe around, because that's her nature. So now, within the understanding of that, it's a woman's nature to know that, okay, I can't trust any guy. He has to stand out in some way. He has to be relevant in some way so that I have security. Because women literally go towards men. Women seek men for security. The whole basis of a man and female relationship on the female side is for security. If you show no signs of security, then quite frankly, you shouldn't expect to be with a woman who really understands her feminine energy. So now, where is the woman's energy construed? Where is the woman's energy mixed up within the masculine, making her more confused in terms of her role in life? Because by nature, we understand that women are nurturers, women are also protectors to a certain extent. Women are also providers to a certain extent, much like the male energy, but not on the same scale necessarily, because women are more so inclined to be patient, empathetic, more especially with kids, more considerate, and more impressionable, but impressionable in a good way. understand that, and we understand this, so what exactly would me being the bad guy, this evil guy that runs this system, benefit from a woman who doesn't know what she needs to do, a man who doesn't know what he needs to do, a man who doesn't know that he needs to go out there, fight, protect, provide, become someone in the world so that a woman feels more secure within his space, and then a woman being more secure within a space allows her to be more safe, more in tune with her nurturing abilities, such as motherly instincts, etc. What do I benefit? Well, I would benefit mass control. I would benefit mass control over society, mass control over people, because a man who doesn't know how to think for himself, why would a woman know how to think for herself if she expects this man to be capable of fighting for her, expects this man to be capable of protecting her, making sure tomorrow that her and the children are safe, her and the children have food, her and the children have a place to call home? Why would she understand this beyond the man? Men are simply the guiders. They guide. And a man who cannot guide is a man who cannot provide, is a man who cannot fight, is a man who is not a force to be reckoned with in society. And without a force to be reckoned with, then there has to be something in control. This system being in control keeps people in control to a certain extent whereby they don't even know what's right and what's wrong anymore, what they are entitled to and what they're entitled to or not entitled to anymore. Believing that, okay, yes, I understand that there's this whole notion of women have rights to work, women have rights to be CEOs, and I admire that, right? But I don't promote it. I never do. I have never actually admired a woman who was far too intellectual, like Oprah Winfrey. And I'm not saying women when they're stupid. No, there is quite frankly no such thing as a stupid woman, because we have IQ and we have EQ. IQ and EQ being that emotional quotient is what a woman will resonate with more than a man may resonate with, even though it's necessary for a man to embody emotional quotient to be at his prime. Just as it may be necessary for a woman to embody intellectual quotient for her to be at her prime, because she needs to be able to compensate for the fact that, okay, this guy, he goes through this level of stress, he goes through this pain, he goes through this uncertainty on a daily basis of tomorrow, me being in this place doing this and doing that, will I possibly lose my position in society? Solely so he can give the woman the security that at least we have a home, at least we have food, at least, we're functional, right? So I think that women are more inclined to actually not work these high stress jobs, because within them being more intellectually or emotionally quotient or emotionally intelligent, they thrive of living within their emotions, being that a woman should be allowed to be sad without the stress of her sadness is coming at the expense of her entire life. A woman should be allowed to be happy, understanding that she's completely safe within her happiness. A woman should be allowed to smile. Like, the most feminine women are the happiest women in the world. Just as the most masculine men are the most happiest men in the world. Because there's something quite fulfilling about saying, I'm gonna do this as a man, and actually doing it. There's something fulfilling about saying, listen, I know it's fucking hard. It even looks impossible. I'm risking my life every day by going out there saying, listen, I'm gonna be the best, this, that. But the level of confidence and conviction in yourself you gain from going out there, putting in your all, and then coming out victorious as a man is undeniable in comparison to the man who just sits at home, faps, plays Fortnite and GTA, works a shitty 9 to 5 that he probably hates, because everything about that element of his life is safe. There is no risk. When a man has no risk element in his life, no stress element in his life, he's most depressed because he's completely and utterly going against his nature. And understanding that from our forefathers, Our forefathers used to go to war. Our forefathers used to hunt. Our forefathers used to kill each other for status. Used to kill each other for land. And they were thriving. They were thriving mentally. There was no mental health 1,000 years ago. Mental health was just, are you doing what you know you should do without even speaking? That was what being mentally healthy was. Nowadays, we don't have that anymore because now we have women who go out there, they experience the shittiness and the stress of having this job and this high position, all this pressure. The stress of having a whole company's portfolio on your shoulders is not something I think a woman should necessarily experience, even if it's her right. And by nature, I'll argue that women don't even want that. Women don't actually want that. It's been brainwashed and imposed upon women to believe that that's what they want, solely because it was something they didn't have as a right, as the opportunity going to it. But it's never been anything that a woman in her element actually wants. Because, like I was saying, a woman who is her most feminine, because a woman who is her most feminine will inevitably be happier. But let's understand that when a woman doesn't have a masculine sense of support, a sense of security from a man, she feels as though she has to feel that for herself, which puts her into survival. She has to now create a level of security for herself to make sure that she's surviving. Because now, a woman who doesn't have a man who she's confident is going to fight for me no matter what. 6 men downstairs, all armed, trying to rob my house. Is this man really going to go down there? Is he capable of handling 6 men? Does he know how to use a gun? Does he know how to fight? Or are we all going to fucking die? It's a simple question. If in a house, in a home invasion, you could be a female, you have a husband, or you could be a man and you have a wife, right? Who do you really expect? Really expect? Because in a moment where cops will only be at your house in 10 minutes, 10 minutes is more than enough time for these guys to kill you, take everything they want, and get the fuck out of here. Who do you really expect to go down there, risk their life 101% by going down there with complete uncertainty of what they're going to face and protect their home? It's a man. From the notion of back then when we had war and we just had kings and queens and we had a patriarchal society, it was a thing of you're protecting your castle because this is your security, your status being threatened as a man. So now, okay, we get that. So why is it that we're struggling so much to embody exactly what we know we are? Because we're given this pressure. We expect girls to go out there, study this extensive courses, get this fucking degree, get this crazy job. They live in survival mode their entire lives, from youth, you know? And granted, yeah, I would actually argue that the school system revolves more around a feminine nature, but educationally, in terms of getting a job, in certain types of jobs at least, it's more masculine. So I would say that the school system revolves more around female glorification or female energy glorification, because now you're in a system where you're completely and utterly obedient. Otherwise, that comes at the expense of your own security. Doesn't matter if you're a male or female. Like me, I don't want to go to school today. Let's say I'm underage by law. I can get fucking arrested and my parents can get arrested. That's fucking stupid. So because I just don't want to go to school? Why would that be a law? Think about it for yourself. Why would it be a law that because you just don't want to rock up to school? Because no, the kids must have their education so that they have security. Do you understand your argument? How are you gonna make money if you don't have a degree? How are you gonna get rich? You don't get rich from school, by the way. You'll never be rich if you follow the mainstream curriculum. Never. I don't care if you're a fucking engineer or a doctor. You'll definitely never see a billion in your life if you're a doctor and engineer. Never. I don't care who you are, what you do. You won't see $1 billion, not even rands. Let's talk real money, dollars, from just being a practitioner in a specific space. And I'm not saying that life revolves around money, but it does. It does, because look at the world we live in. The shit I'm wearing, the house I'm in, this chair. This is money. This is fucking money. Electricity, lighting, money. You need money. You can't be delusional and say, no, I don't care about money. Then you're lost. I know you're lost. I'll never have a conversation with someone who doesn't prioritize money. I never have and I never will. Exactly why, in my opinion, I'm going exactly my direction, which is a certain level. Anyone who argues otherwise against money will never see that level. Knowingly or unknowingly, they want to be at this level, but they're stuck here. So it's actually cope to come up with the impression that you don't actually prioritize money. Everyone loves money because they understand how essential it is. Money quite literally dictates your survival. So now, okay, the school system does revolve around the feminine energy in terms of the obedience, the slave mind, as some people call it. I also like to refer to it as the slave mind because it reflects your inability to think for yourself. It definitely reflects your inability to think for yourself. Because now, when your teacher says something, you feel it deep down in your fucking chest. You don't want to do this shit. You don't see the importance in taking this subject. You don't see the importance in doing this specific assignment. Unless obviously you're somehow inclined to it, you're passionate about it. That's a different argument. But you've had I cannot think of an individual. Doesn't matter if they get straight A's or they get F's, straight F's. We've all experienced where there's something we don't want to do in school, but it's portrayed as though we have to do it, hence we end up doing it. That is slavery. Slavery is the whole point of you don't want to do something, but because somebody's will is imposed so strongly upon you, you end up doing it regardless of how you feel, what you think, what you believe. You go completely against your own identity, and that's you living in someone else's shadow. You're a slave. And a lot of people hate hearing that shit. A lot of people hate hearing that shit. But it's exactly how life works nowadays. That's exactly why this system flourishes. That's exactly why this system is successful. Because when you have a population of, out of 8 billion people, 7.8 billion, or maybe more, 7.999 billion are slaves, then, because now think of it, if everyone around you is a slave, you would never become a slave, because by human nature, we don't just want to fit in. It actually contributes to our idea of survival that, okay, we can fit in. To relate, to be able to say, okay, we're all doing this. We're impressionable solely because we want to survive, is what I'm saying. Because if everyone around you is a slave, why would you not be a slave? All you see is being a slave. All you know how to do is be a slave. All you know how to think about is the slavery. So bring that back to things like school. Bring that back to the idea of what masculinity and femininity is. Because now, if all men think a certain way, or most men think a certain way, then the male youth will think a certain way. And same goes for the females. Now they understand, okay, I'm always in survival mode. Women are generally in survival mode. Men are unreliable nowadays. Men are not here out for us necessarily anymore. Men don't protect us anymore. Men don't like providing for us anymore. Men want to go 50-50. I have to now bring something to the table. Then women know it a certain way. They genuinely start believing in a certain way. But in terms of our nature, you can't change your fucking DNA. That's for sure. You'll be like that forever. It doesn't matter if you get to a point where you actually start believing a man doesn't have to work. A woman doesn't have. A woman should work full time. A woman should be this fucking CEO, make millions for us. Put me on a yacht as a man. Put me on a private jet as a man. Even if you get to a point where you think that way and you speak that way, you feel that it's a fucking lie. You feel it in your soul because your DNA won't lie to you. So if you understand that, I hope I've raised some awareness, and within raising an awareness, I can say I've impacted you in such a way. Now, as you go through the world, you raise your standards to a certain level, both as a man and as a woman. Because if as a man you don't want to do what's hard but necessary, you're not being a man anymore. And if as a woman you don't feel safe, you're not a woman anymore. It's that simple. It's that simple.